All right, everyone. Here we are, week 4 at Paul Ricard. I've got Jay with me again.
Ah, how you doing?
All right, so first thing I'll put up on the screen here as we're getting ready for the warm-up lap to start is I'll put up the standings for the season so far. So this is as we stand about entering the halfway point of the season. Um, and looking through the list, Jay, anything you want to bring to our attention?
Um, well, I mean, it does look like we've had a bit of a shuffle up front. Um, Mike Doherty's now in the lead so far, which is, I guess that's what happens when you've got guys that don't make races. Um, so yeah, I mean, Ian Demler's right up there as well. I mean, Scott Taylor, Alvarez, a lot of names that traditionally I have not seen this far up the board there. But I mean, that's great to see.
Yeah, that's just it. I mean, if you can make every race, that you can d- still place high in the positions when you got other guys who aren't able to make every race. So, um, but at the same time, those guys, a lot of them, like you mentioned, Scott Taylor has been having a great season so far as well. So he's been making races and putting in some having some good races as well. The other thing I'll put up here on the screen now, the qualifying. So one of the things you mentioned was people not making races, and we do have a couple of people here this race who hadn't made some of the previous week's race, last week's race. One was Hasbrock is here today, as well as Derringer as well. So, and pulling up the qualifying, we see Aiden Hasbrock is the pole setter tonight.
Yeah, it's good to see that Derringer had some issues pop up, and last race it looked like he'd actually dropped from the championship. So it's good to see him make it back, and hopefully we'll see a decent showing this race. I mean, regardless, it's just great to have more than 5 guys on track. I mean, when we first started this thing, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys showing up on track. I mean, it was still fun racing, but let's just say it was sparse.
Well, I'll say too, got guys that we're happy to have back. Another name here. He's raced with us previously, but has not. This is the first race so far in season 5. Is David Hicks is making his return, staying with that V8 Vantage.
Yeah. Hicks he's a guy I don't have a lot of track time with, so it'll be interesting to see. What he can pull out here.
Yeah, this might give us an indication if he had taken a hiatus in general from driving, or if maybe he just hadn't been here for the league races. We'll see how if there's some rust to knock off, or if he's right back where he left off with us.
Yeah. I mean, I unfortunately didn't get to participate or really be involved all that last season, so it's interesting to see some of these guys that you've heard stories about. See what they got.
And another thing in qualifying order here, I see Francisco Escobar up qualified 10th. Given this is his first season in the league and his first time really racing competitively in sim racing. He's still very new to it. Great to see him manage to qualify in the top 10. So I know he's probably
Yeah.
excited about that.
I did just notice something. It looks like we did lose 2 people on the formation lap. It looks like
Oh no!
Derringer and Hassel. So I don't know if there's some technical issues going on there, but it's really never a good way to
Speaking of
start
technical
a
issues,
race.
Darty is sitting in the track right now.
Oh no!
I think the car might have hit the ignition button and turned the car off. Yeah, back going again. That's good. The last thing we need is
Well, I
a
mean, yeah,
third person with an issue.
Yeah, that's that. I mean, unfortunately, it happens. I mean, it happens in real life. You know, cars get stranded on the grid. You know, cars don't make it through the formation lap. You know, sometimes you pull a Grosjean and loop it trying to warm up your tires.
Yeah, and that's really a
I know.
shame for Hasbrock because he was just lost leading the championship, got pulled like he was ready to maybe pick back up leading the championship, come out here and win a race, and unfortunately dropped and having technical issues.
Yeah. Well, speaking of pulling a Grosjean, I think David Macedo's. You probably wouldn't want us to say this, but he's actually done that a couple times in his illustrious career. So just be watchful for that. That might be a reoccurring theme.
All right, formed up, about to go green. There's the green light. Heading into a pretty hard braking zone, turn 1, that the left-hander here, so hopefully everyone gives adequate space. No collision so far, looking good. The gang has made it through. We'll stay with the heli cam for now. And David falls in behind Moda. It's Darty behind him and David Hicks behind Doherty. And there's contact there. And Darty goes to avoid Moda's swerves. This is right before the fast straight too, so all those guys are going to lose speed here.
Yeah, and unfortunately it looks like Doherty's lost a ton of time going down Mistral here.
Yeah, he has.
But Pedro looks like he's got rockets on the back of that Lambo. I hope he's got an exit plan here, because this is not going to be...
Yeah, he's still got a little... This is a very long straight up Paul Ricard, so he's got time. He needs to get over more, though. It can't... Ooh, Alex touches the rear. This is going to be a mess. Gee, there goes Cerna. Let's go back here.
No.
I don't even know what camera's the best to try to even...
Oh, no.
Let's maybe go on board with... We'll ride here with Cerna. Try to see this from his point of view. I think this is one we're gonna watch a few times.
Yeah, sorry to do you dirty here, Max, but he reached out to me after the race and pleaded with me not to show any of his driving. So
I'm doing it, so he should have reached out to me as well. So.
Exactly.
I mean, he's just trying to avoid it. Nothing you can do in that space. I mean, he actually, credit to him, he didn't hit anybody. He pretty much, just trying to avoid everything. Now we'll watch the same thing from Doherty's point of view. See if we can. This is maybe a front seat row to the madness.
Yeah, this is a tough position to be in. I mean, unfortunately, Pedro's just in a bad spot, and it just compromises the corner for Moda. It looks like there was a little bit of contact between Perez and Moda there.
Yeah, let's see if we go to the wing cam maybe on Pedro.
Yeah, sure. I love this camera so much.
Yeah. It's like Pedro knew we were doing it. Yeah, he is clear. Definitely clear. It's just Moda, I don't think, was expecting him to be that slow through there.
Yeah, well, I
It
mean,
was,
taking that corner that tight, I mean, you're going to have to slow down
yep,
way more than the guy on the outside. So that's unfortunate. I mean,
yeah.
it's
No,
a good
Pedro is
thing.
definitely alongside of, I mean, past him there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good thing that, I mean, nobody's out of it because of that. I mean, that could very well have turned into just a horrible, horrible
Oh
situation.
yeah, it definitely could have. We'll go on board with Pedro. We can see. I don't think he had enough time to get all the way to the left. Is what happened. So you're braking between what is the boards, the 50 and 100. But it's going to be these boards right here. He doesn't have enough time to really pull over to where you really want to take it from and turn in from trying to get by. I mean, he might have been able to get over there if he had cut over sooner, but at the same
Yeah,
time, he was trying to make sure, I'm sure, that he had cleared those guys, so he didn't want to just swing back over in front of everybody and slam the brakes.
yeah, that's a rough place to be. I do have to commend everybody. I mean, it's been a couple sort of incidents on this
Ooh,
first
Darty
lap
goes
where,
wide,
oh,
and really wide here. That is
yeah, it's been
gonna.
a couple incidents this first lap that could have ended horribly for a few of the guys, and everyone's done a pretty
So,
good job of keeping their noses clean.
yeah, he just doesn't brake soon enough, goes super wide, and right back alongside of Hicks. And wide again.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe it's cold tires.
Yeah, just, you know, um, definitely doesn't look like he's settled into the race. Maybe he's still jarred from the action at the lap one.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, an incident like that in front of I mean, it gets the heart pumping. I mean, sometimes you can get a little jittery, depending on how well you handle adrenaline. But I mean, it's just a sim. But I mean,
Hmm.
when you're in the middle of it, your body does sort of react like you're in it.
Oh, you know what? I see. Here is. We've got a liftoff here. So it looks like we'll follow Francisco. Going down into turn one. And just woo!
Yeah, he's trying to challenge Kyle for that.
Did he take it? That was.
I don't think he did. I
I'm not.
think Kyle still got
I'm
about
not.
15 feet on him.
I'm not gonna freeze it, and I'm not gonna freeze it and take a get the measuring stick out. But yeah, this is talking about getting jarred, and you can see, yeah, he's just making sure he stays inside of Driveman, and just that, yeah, gets sent up there after that. Thankfully, stays control of the car, only loses a position to Miller. So, good job recovering from it.
Yeah, I mean, he might have only lost one position to Miller, but I think he probably lost about 3 inches. There's some spinal compression going on there. I didn't hear the Top Gun theme, so I don't think he reached the required height.
So that's the TikTok video for this week. We'll go back and we'll get that and put the Top Gun music on and play it in slow motion.
Right? Yeah, a little bit of air traffic control radio in there. Well, file a flight plan.
And so at this point, Macedo out in front by a second on Moda. Moda has Pedro a half second from him. At the moment, this is the closest battle on track, so I think we'll stay with this one.
I mean, and it's no. I'm not trying to besmirch Pedro here, but I am absolutely surprised that he's up there harrying Alex for in a battle for second place here. I mean, Alex has shown some pretty wicked pace, and I know that Pedro's been struggling with that Lamborghini. Just not the way he puts it. It doesn't turn, so it's good to see him getting stuff sort of sorted. And
yeah, and props to Pedro for changing cars, because he was very lethal in that Bentley, and a lot of people, have egos that won't let them change cars or try to, go to something that they know they're not going to be as competitive in. And Pedro wanted to have some fun, wanted to change it up, and I commend him for that. And it's great to see him already up in third place in that car, which he, as you already mentioned, said doesn't really suit him very well. Maybe
yeah,
he'll have different. Maybe he'll have a different opinion after this.
I mean, yeah, it's. I've definitely noticed that my opinion of the car is based very heavily on where I finished the last race.
It's funny how that works, right?
Yeah, isn't it? Right? But yeah, that Lambo seems to have just some ungodly pull down the straight.
And so we have Hicks and Doherty. This is good. Hicks had the inside there. It looks like this is one of the fun parts of this track, right? You get this just ridiculously long straight, and it gives you chances if you're in somebody's toe that you can almost always get by the guy in front of you. But here, by the time Doherty caught him, it wasn't able to get in front of him, and Hicks takes that inside line and maintains. So good job. Hicks knew what he was doing there. That's how you properly defend on that turn if a guy is alongside you. Don't let him on the inside, force him to the outside.
Yeah, it's always kind of sketchy going through there side by side.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even if you know the guy you're racing with, it's always a risky proposition. So it's good to see that.
Yeah.
It's good to see that both these guys made it through with, yeah.
Doherty just keeps. He is anxious tonight. You normally see a lot more consistency from Doherty, and he is just seems to be missing the breaking points, or maybe just trying too hard, and it's that thing too where you brake just a fraction later, but it carries you feet and feet further.
Yeah, it's one of those things that happens when you're following a guy and you're hyper focused on what you're doing, trying to get past him. I think we've all sort of experienced it where you try to figure out where the limits are, and unfortunately sometimes they're about, I don't know, 10 to 20 meters behind you when you decide to hit the brakes.
Yeah. And so we got Doherty a half second behind Hicks. Here they go down the straight again. Looks like he's probably too far to have another shot at him here.
Well, I mean, this is, I think...
Or not.
The longest stretch of straight road in existence.
Yeah.
So the Mistral straight just goes on forever.
So you can see Hicks there all the way to the right. He says, "You're not getting by me on the right." He stays far to the right of that track. That was well done. He knows what he's doing. He says, "This is not my first go around, Paul Ricard."
Yeah, turn T5 all the way to T10 is just constant left-right direction changes and decreasing radius turns, and yeah, this part of the track can get kind of hairy if you're trying to push.
Yeah, that turn also has potential for rear ending there. That hard brake for the last right-hander.
Yeah, the DuPont onto the straight that's a corner that it flummoxes me. For some reason, that corner and I are just completely incompatible.
And I've noticed this from driving, that there is very different ways people take that last turn. and depending on how people take it, it changes where they brake for it. So it can be difficult when you really got to know what the guy in front of you, how they take it, if you're gonna really get close to him there. Yeah. And let's go to Moda, because Moda's a half second behind Macedo right now.
Yeah, and this Porsche, I think, also received a bit of an update. I think it got a top speed buff, because this thing is...
Can it actually get above like 100 now?
Oh, dude, I think he's doing about 280 something by the end of the straight. So it is ridiculous.
For those who don't track the different car differences, the Porsche, its weakness has always been the top speed. It's just digs out of turns, sick acceleration, but it just up top, especially for a straight like Paul Ricard, it completely runs out of breath. And you can see it there because, well, most cars you get in someone's toe, they're really reeling the guy in front of them, and all that toe was doing was essentially letting Alex kind of stay with David, but not necessarily pull him in there.
Yeah, it's this is definitely a track where I don't know. It's hard to say what's more important, top speed or handling.
Oh, it looks like. Going back, it looks like there might have been contact. So Doherty just lunges.
Ooh, yikes! Yeah,
that was not a good move to make there. Boy.
Yeah, that's one of those. About 5 or 10 meters, a little too late on the brakes.
Which one will even get a passenger view? But yeah,
That's...
way. It was almost where it was like an afterthought of a move, because he seemed to be on the outside, like he was gonna set him behind, and then just decides to jump in. And thankfully, it wasn't worse for David, because that was a lot of contact.
Yeah, I know. Props to Mike there for, not just flooring it and coming straight back onto the track and potentially causing problems. That was a very smart rejoin there.
Yeah, that's one thing you don't want to make. You don't want to ruin more people's races, right?
Just your own.
Just your own. You already hit a guy that could potentially ruin his race. You don't want to just keep going at it. And that's the thing too. You got to be careful not to get frustrated. When you do something wrong or you make a mistake, even if something you might feel is boneheaded, or or someone else does something to you, you can't let it shake you up. You got to just don't get frustrated.
Yeah, just head down.
But thankfully, not seeing a lot of damage on Hicks.
No, that Aston seemed to take that like a champion.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, we got Moda. Moda is not even half a second back of Macedo right now. Yeah, from talking to Moda during the week, you think, like, we're talking about the Porsche struggles of top speed, you think it would almost be, when it comes to car setup, you lower the rear wing, and you try to get as much top speed as you can get out of that Porsche. But from talking to Moda, his actual he does keep some wing going, and the reason why is he just focuses on making it up in the other parts of the track. He says, I know I can't compete on the straight, so I don't even bother trying to tweak it just for that. I try to make it so I can make up in the other places, and that seems to work for him.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole philosophy behind the balance of performance is, some of these cars are super heavy, some are super light, some are better on tires. You try to limit the amount of advantage that some of these cars have, and they've it shows they've done a pretty good job of getting that pretty close to where it needs to be when you've got, two cars that are, I don't want to say widely known as not being the greatest on straights, competitive, The the McLaren for a
Just
long
look at
time
this
was
sixth gear
also,
just blinking.
yeah, I know, right?
Oh, you
The
said the
McLaren's
McLaren?
also one of those cars that, yeah, is has been known in the past to not have the greatest top speed. So
I did not realize that about you. You taught me something new. I've never really driven the McLaren much to know anything firsthand, but I didn't realize that was a weakness.
yeah, I think both of these cars are generally sort of classified as a handling cars. They're better on the twisties than
Mm.
they are on the straights.
Yeah, for sure. It's been a long time since I've. It's been many updates ago that I drove. I gave it a go at the McLaren, and I remember it feeling very much like a go kart, where it felt like it had a lot of
Oh,
grip to it,
absolutely.
and also
Yeah, I
you
mean it.
sit right in the middle, just like a go kart.
Yeah, I mean you turn the wheel and the thing is just immediately.
Mm.
It's definitely a pointy car, and some people can't deal with pointy cars. Um, I personally I prefer pointy. Loose is fast, and if you're having to constantly sort of try to coax the thing to turn, um, you're losing time mid corner, and yeah, it's definitely a fun car to drive.
Yeah, that might be one I need to give it another go. I just remember not feeling. I don't know how to describe it, but it didn't feel as like like as on edge as other cars. It felt very controlled, very like even the Aston. I felt like there was some kind of looseness to it, and the McLaren to me just felt very planted and almost kind of boring at the time, just personally.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've driven it, so I mean I can't really confirm nor deny that statement. But I mean, the last time I drove it, the thing was, I don't want to say unreal, but I mean it's pretty obvious why it's
It's popular.
classed as, it's classed as a car it's not really bad anywhere.
Hmm.
It averages pretty well at most tracks.
Yeah, and you can
And
see why it's a popular car you see online and a popular car in a lot of leagues.
yeah, and these two are just kind of
It's also a popular
run.
beginner car for a good reason too.
Well, yeah, same with the. It used to be with the V8 Vantage
Hmm.
Aston. I don't know if
Yep.
it still is, but
People still say it, but I don't know if that's just because we all said that for so long that we just carry on saying it, even all these updates later. But yeah, that was always considered the if you want to drive front engine rear wheel drive, start with the Vantage. That's what people always said.
I don't know. Personally, I think the Bentley's an easier car to drive than the Aston.
I agree with you. I think the Aston's very stable, but it's it's very hard to. It makes you stay on a very. You need to be able to carry speed into turns, maintain. It has terrible acceleration and punch out of turns. Um, so yeah, I agree with you. I actually think the Bentley, but you know why people probably don't recommend the Bentley? Because not everyone can deal with that right-hand drive. So maybe that's
Yeah,
why it doesn't. Because I agree with you. I think the Bentley technically is a better entry-level car than even the Aston. As someone who's driven both in the game, I actually started with the Bentley. Uh, the first time I started playing this online with some friends and stuff, I started with the Bentley, and I was getting so fast in the Bentley that I wanted to be more competitive, just closer racing with the people I was with. So I switched cars and I started driving the Aston because I was slower in the Aston, but that was only because you had to, learn a different car. Not saying that the
Yeah.
Bentley's necessarily faster than the Aston or vice versa. But yeah, I really liked the Bentley.
Yeah. Speaking of Bentleys, we did talk about Pedro
Mm-hmm.
swapping over to the Lambo this season. I mean, he's still up in third. I mean, Alex and David are just kind of walking away with this, which really isn't a surprise. They've been putting in some pretty quick times during the practices, but yeah, Pedro up in third.
Yeah, and I think
Brand
if
new car. Yeah, he's sitting pretty at the moment.
yeah, he has Hicks. We need to watch this. Hicks is 2.8 down from him, so we need to see if Hicks is down to 2.6. So Hicks looks like he is kind of squeezing in there on Pedro. So, but yeah, I agree.
Well,
Pedro, it's
if
great third.
if I know Pedro, he's got some spiked wheel hubs installed, or he's got some
Heavy metal music blaring on the
yeah
radio.
yeah
He got the
some
car right.
caltrops installed in the back, or like an oil slick generator. Like the Bond villain he is. So
And I'll
yeah,
tell
we
you what
give
too, from Racing with Pedro. All jokes aside about the Caltros and stuff, but yeah, he's not gonna let you through. He's gonna
no.
do everything within the legal limits of driving to keep you behind him.
Yeah, I kind of regret teaching Pedro how
Were
to
you
drive
the one?
defensively.
Were you the one who
Yeah,
did that? Oh, Jay,
I did that. I did that.
that's
I'm
a
sorry.
master class he should have never had. That is.
Yeah, I should have charged him.
Now we're all paying for it. That's what
Yeah,
happened.
sorry guys.
So look, Moda has. It's not that Macedo's like pulling away fast, but he's got it up to 1.1. So it looks like we're for a little bit, like Moda might have been gaining on him and maybe gonna start to be able to battle. It looks like Macedo's slowly extending that lead, ever so little by little.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where, as long as Alex has been with us, he's always been I don't want to say an aggressive driver, but he definitely drives that Porsche like he stole it. And he's complained on many occasions that he just goes through tires like they're going out of style. So I'm wondering if there might be a little bit of starting to feel the pain. This is a night race.
Mm-hmm.
Temps are low, which usually means times are going to be a little higher. But the flip side of that is as your tires lose, the meat on them when they start, and it's not tread, but when they start losing the millimeters of carcass, I guess it would be, they lose heat much faster and they don't hold it as well. So the more worn your tires get, the colder they get, which is just a double whammy.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see if Moda can sort of manage that. I would love to see Moda get a W.
So would I.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, has he, I'd have to look back at the past championships. I don't think I know he's won in practices and stuff for other league events, but in a championship race, I don't think he's won yet as fast as he is. He's definitely overdue. He's someone you would expect to be on that list.
Yeah, and if he's not, that's an injustice. It needs to be rectified.
Yeah, I'd have to look. I can't recall off the top of my head. I don't want to start digging. We'll have to look into that.
Well, all I can say is no one said there would be homework involved. So, we'll have to renegotiate the contract if that's the case.
It's bonus homework.
Yeah, right.
And so while the lead up front, the gap up front's getting larger, the gap between some of these guys in the back half is getting much tighter. We've got Driveman, Miller, and Francisco here.
Ooh. Give him a little wiggle.
Yeah, it's a little wiggle wiggle. They go down. Oh, they're all pretty. As I switched to them and started talking about getting tight, and now they started to spread out somewhat. But
yeah, I mean, been kind of watching the relative over there, and these guys seem like they're, I mean, relatively running about the same times. Trading who's faster lap per lap. But yeah, it's shaping up to be maybe a bit of a race back here.
And to check in on David here, I think I had mentioned before he was 2.6, something like that, seconds away from Pedro, and that's down to 1.5. So.
And it looks like we've also lost Doherty.
Oh, we did lose Doherty, and he's back. He just appeared back in, so he must have had a hardware issue as well.
Yeah,
game crash, and they had to rejoin. That's gonna hurt too. He was leading in the championship based on consistency. Managing to finish decently high in the I think second place the last two races. But mainly his consistency of being in every race, and that's gonna hurt.
Yeah, well, I mean, from the way this race has gone so far, it kind of seems like if Mike wasn't having bad luck, he wouldn't have any luck at all at this point. So,
well, the good news is if he can rejoin, or he was able to join the race to begin with, so at least because of other drivers dropping out, that'll still guaranteed 10th place. So
and he's out again.
Yeah, something must be going on.
Yeah, he must be having problems, and that's rough. I mean, that is. We've talked about having a spin or being off track being demoralizing, but coming into a race knowing that you're gonna be lapped down due to no fault of your own is just ugh.
Yeah. It's again, we talked about Alvarez's resolve and staying with the race even after everything that had happened to him. We'll see if Doherty comes back and even bothers, but he typically will. He's back again.
Yeah, he's back again.
So the battle here looks like it had retightened back up. Escobar all over Driveman right now.
And I say this every race, but if I were Miller, I'd just be holding back about 10%, trying to get these two into a fight, and then just try to make the best of it. I'm not going to stop saying that. That's going to be my.
That's your go-to move. That's the J special move.
Yeah.
When someone does it, we're going to be like, oh, they pulled the J special move.
Yeah, they pulled the number 2. Yeah, T1's another one of those just really awkward.
It is, and it's almost where, from my experience here, it's not even about as fast as you can get through turn 1. It's as fast as you can get for setting yourself up into turn 2, because it seems like turn 2 is where you really want to be able to maximize your speed and kind of carry it into that somewhat straight section.
Yeah, and that's definitely. I will say that is the truth. It's a lot like this corner right here on the Mistral Straight.
Yes,
it's not about how fast you can get through the first right-hander. It's about how fast you can get yourself set up for the left.
Yes, that is the perfect example of another turn like that at this track.
I mean, frankly, this T5 up here should be illegal. I hate this. I hate this turn.
This right-hander right here.
Yes, I hate it so much.
I don't like it when there's cars around, but I do find it fun dabbing it, trying to get the inside of the curb. That you carry yourself wide and just get right back on right before those markers, those off-track markers. It's a fun section, but like you said, it's not a great one to. You don't want to be alongside someone because you just don't know what's going to happen to their car if you're on the outside of them.
Yeah, exactly.
And you don't know what's going to happen to your car if you're on the inside of them.
Yeah, it's I don't know. There are some cars that do not handle coming off the throttle for that corner all that well.
I could see that. Yeah.
I can tell you right now the Mercedes is not one of the ones that can handle that. I've done some laps around here with the Merc, and I have a really hard time with that corner. So it does look like Doherty's back on track.
Yes, yeah, he is.
Yep. So I mean it's not good to see
It's not.
Mike having a bad race. I mean, a bad time. But it's good to see him
sticking it out.
Sticking it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that NSX is another car that's recently got a bit of a rework. That thing used to be just a dog, no straight line speed whatsoever. It was the best on the brakes because it was the worst on the gas. But now it's pretty quick in a straight line. Nick just having just having a bad time around this.
Is that gonna let? Definitely
Definitely
let him close in.
Yeah, it definitely gave him a chance to catch back up. I mean, yeah, Nick looked like he was fighting a lot through there.
And this is going to be interesting too because of Francisco being a newer driver. I was going to say trying to find an opportunity to pass, but as I go to say it, he gets a nice break. Driveman kind of loses the car a little bit, and it lets Francisco.
Yeah, and it looks
like like
Nick might be dealing. He might be dealing with some tire issues, but he may have some damage.
Did he downshift too much or something? I heard the engine get real. What happened?
Oh yeah, it looks like he just went down one too many gears.
Is this it? Did I go?
Oh no, yeah.
Here we go.
I thought that's perfect. Yeah.
That's what happened. But good save. He didn't get the car looped around. And now he has a chance to try to... Oh, no, he's going to take this opportunity to pit. There you go.
And that is a proper pit entry.
Yes.
Not cross the white line.
Yes.
No. And that's what we like to see.
All right, so now Francisco made it by driving. He's going to have his eyes set on getting to Miller next, hopefully. But as I was saying, as a even for experienced drivers, as you saw with Mike into David Hicks, it's early in the race. It's not easy to set up passes.
No.
It's one of the aspects of a lot of drivers' games that they're constantly working on or trying to improve on, because mainly you don't get to pass that often, right? You're not. I mean, maybe public lobby race, but in those cases, it's such a shit show. You're not. Yeah, I wouldn't. It's kind of like going in a boxing ring with just you don't know who you're gonna fight, and it doesn't necessarily tell you you're a good boxer by going into that. That's gonna be something we'll have to see how Francisco does in that aspect, because that was always something, and to this day that I still work with trying to improve on.
Yeah, no, I mean passing is usually one of those things that I don't want to say is one of the last things that you as a driver gain experience with, but I mean, it kind of is because, at first you're just trying to keep it on the track between the lines, and then, trying to work on the consistency and keeping on the racing line, not just between the lines, but where you're supposed to have it. And then passing is sort of just a side effect of that. So, I mean, even for some experienced guys, passing is one of those things where you don't get to do a lot, depending on, the skill level of the people you're racing with.
Yeah, no, well said. I totally agree with you. Could not agree more. And we chose, Francisco chose to enter the pits this lap. I don't know what his fuel level was, but I'm actually surprised because he was gaining on Miller. You'd think he might have stayed out there to keep trying to reel him in, but he is going to take this opportunity to pit.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on, where he comes out on track. I mean, everyone's going to have to pit, so depending on whether or not Miller has any issues before he pits, or what condition his tires are in, they should come out roughly the same positions they were, But yeah, it's one of those things where, I mean, I think the pit lane here is like almost a kilometer long, I think.
Well, and I guess too, it's kind of one of those things depending on kind of are you a driver who likes to have the carrot on the stick, or do you prefer to have no distractions and have an empty track to just hot lap on? Because if you like that carrot, yeah,
yeah, I mean, clear air is always better. I mean, that's where you're going to find your pace. When you're behind someone, it's always harder to follow than it is to lead. So.
I don't know. I mean, I know what you're saying, and you're right. But I was like, some people don't have those nerves of steel like you do, where it's easier to lead.
and by that I mean it's always easier to be faster when you don't have to worry about sort of the dealing with the wash off someone else's car.
Yeah, and I know exactly what you were saying, and I totally agree. I totally understand where you were coming from with it. Oh, so Driveman is back out front of Francisco here. So Driveman must have had the better pit time, shorter pit stop.
Yeah, and that's another thing is. So we kind of talked about that last race where some of these guys aren't all that confident with their pit stops because it's not something you do, I mean, ever, if you're in a public lobby.
No.
So, not just getting your pit limiter figured out, but, your ignition and all that stuff and sort of learning all the tricks. I mean, you can easily waste about 8 seconds in the pits if you're too far forward or too far back.
That's a great thing to bring up on the broadcast right now for any drivers listening who aren't aware of it, is what you just said, Jay. The fact that if you don't use a manual ignition and manual start, the auto pits where you let the game do everything, it's gonna, I think, add about 5 seconds to your pit stop, something like that. It's just it's not as fast. So for anyone out there that wants to reduce their time spent in the pits, what Jay said about having the ignition. Now the downside of that is then you're liable to make a mistake like Darty did, where on the warm-up lap cuts his car off because he pressed the button he shouldn't have. So you gotta, it could have the opposite effect if you're not confident that there's nothing wrong with letting the auto ones go.
Yeah, and I mean it's one of those things where especially in this game, you can use a key combination for your ignition, so you don't accidentally, one button turn off your ignition. And you think you have to hold the starter for about 2 seconds for it to either turn off or on.
It's Driveman making a move.
Maybe?
Oh, he pulled. I get. I just saw him start to go sideways.
Yeah, that
All
was a
right,
drift if I've ever seen one.
let's go back with Driveman and we'll
Oh,
heli
yep.
cam this. But yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, just powered through that one. Good save.
it's just the Honda doing Honda things.
Now Francisco said I got by you last time from you losing traction on the rear. Let me see if I can get it again. And
Oh, and it
he's
looks
moved
like
up.
you might.
This is good. He's got himself positioned into the apex.
Nice. Nice move.
Very well done. We got his first pass. At least the first. Excuse me. Oh, and then Nick says, "Not so much, but you pay it back." Nick said, "I'll return the favor.
Yeah.
I'm no stranger to passing someone." So that was
I think that's the equivalent of thanks for holding my spot in line.
yeah. Oh,
But yeah, no. Going back to the whole starter thing. If you set up a key combo, it's actually faster to turn off your ignition going into the pits than holding the starter. It's just little tricks that you learn. So.
Yep, and anytime you can save in the pit. No, step one, obviously, with anyone, new to the game is practice getting into the pit where your practice enter where you're down to the correct speed before crossing the white line. You want to minimize your time spent because you don't want to overly slow down, but at the same time you don't want to go too fast. You end up getting a drive-through or a stop, even worse, a stop and go. So the first part's working out, making sure you've got that down.
You also don't want to pull what I like to call the Jon Snow maneuver, which is come into the pits at Brands Hatch and play a game of pinball.
Yes. That's why it's worth practicing. Just like you practice everything about the track, practice that pit. Every track's a different pit entry. Some have extremely long. You can fly down into the entrance of the pit because it's so long. Other tracks like Paul Ricard are extremely short. Paul Ricard's almost not even like it's basically almost like a right hand into a neighborhood. It's like there should be a 4-way stop sign at the Paul Ricard pit.
Yeah, and I think Alton Park's like that too.
Mm-hmm. I think you're right.
I think that's a really short pit entry. The ones that bake my noodle are the really short exits, like at Indianapolis.
Oh, Indy's terrible.
They give you 2
traffic
feet
light
of 2 feet of pit exit, and that's it.
That is terrible. You're seriously. It's like having you pull out your driveway into a freaking highway.
Yeah, it's like the Stephen Wright joke where his home is on the median of a highway. It's a nice grassy area. He really likes it, but the cons are he has to be going 60 miles an hour by the end of his driveway. So yeah,
that's Indy.
yeah, that is. I mean, among other things.
Yeah.
I can't really say what I think of Indy because I think we probably get demonetized. Yeah, this little battle between, well, not little. I don't mean to say it like that, but this battle between Miller, Driveman, and Escobar is, these guys have been pretty much right next to each other the whole race.
Yeah, does Miller even realize there's the battle going on behind? He's managed to be in front of all this. I'm sure he knows, but I mean, he hasn't gotten to be part of the fun.
Oh, he's sweaty. I can guarantee you he is sweaty right now. He's going to be about pounds lighter by the end of this.
Surely. You just see water dripping out of that car.
Yeah, probably going to be a couple bites out of his chair, too, but I'm not going to go into how that happens. Yeah, it's yeah, you can guarantee that Miller is paying very close attention to what's going on behind him right now. Oh, speaking of which, I think driveman just had a pretty compromised entry into DuPont there.
Oh yeah, a lot of
Oh,
understeer,
yeah.
and Cisco's going to be stuck on the outside, but
Oh, yeah,
takes it
he's let
well.
go.
Carried good speed, and
Yeah,
that's going to
driveman
get him back in front.
tried to cut a little of that curb on the inside, and it just did not agree with the NSX there.
Yeah, that's a curb that doesn't seem to be one any car ever driven. It doesn't seem to benefit you to cut it. Really does unsettle the car. And now
Making up
Dryman
some good.
chomping at the bit to.
Yeah, he's making up some good ground here.
Oh, he is. Stay in.
And that's always a nerve-wracking corner to be side by side, because it's a curved braking zone. I mean, it really does sort of, it benefits you to trail brake through there, and it can be rough.
Yeah, we'll see. He's going to be out of his draft here, so I don't expect him to. But he is in that Honda, so let's see this Honda in action. Yeah, we can see.
Yeah, he's definitely made up quite a bit of ground by the end of that straight. It's hard to tell with the relative, but
yeah.
And it looks like just having a hard time getting the front end to bite going through that last.
Yeah.
So one thing I do remember about the NSX is, depending on how you've got the thing set up, if you're using the default aggressive, the thing just does not want to turn, or didn't want to turn. I can't really speak too much on that. But if looks are anything to go by, it's still looking like it's a bit of a pig through the slow speed stuff.
Yeah, that's one thing I could never deal with. I would always rather have an oversteery car than something understeery.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and just to check back at the front again, so David out by a 10-second lead on Moda at this point. We're at 44-minute mark of the race, so he's looks to be in good place to finish in first. Moda in second, who is 23 seconds ahead of Pedro. So I think at this point, Moda's probably just going to settle in and take his second place. Looks like David's probably out of reach, but he's far enough in front of Pedro not to have to sweat bullets or worry about anything. And then Pedro has pulled 8 seconds on Hicks, so I think this was with the pit stop because Hicks was closer to him before, but it looks like Pedro was able to gain some time. So I'm sure Pedro's hoping that 8 seconds is enough of a buffer to get him through the end of the race here, this last 15 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. And oh no, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. I wasn't.
Oh, okay. No, it's yeah, it's a good problem to have. You know, I mean, having that kind of a buffer between you and the guy behind you. It's sometimes I don't know. Sometimes it's, for me at least, a bit anxiety inducing because you end up spending more time paying attention to that relative than you do to what you're doing. You know, you're trying so hard not to let the guy behind you catch, but depending on how these guys have managed their fuel and their pit stop and their tires, I mean, everyone's on fresh tires, well, relatively fresh at this point. And depending on how long they went, they're definitely running less fuel than they were at the start. So, I mean, if you if you've got a car that handles well on low fuel, now is when you're probably going to start making up your time. Like I know that the Porsche, it's a weird one. The fuel tank's in the front, so if you set your car up to be super pointy and hard to control at the start, it definitely comes back toward you near the end. So yeah, I mean, fuel is it's also a thing that people don't really have to worry too much about during, the short 20-minute races that are usually in the public lobbies.
Yeah, and that's one of the things too that early seasons it used to not be a mandatory tire change. So a lot of times in season 1 and 2, I think were both there was mandatory pits, but not with gas or tire change. So it was all optional. You could just basically stop and go if you wanted to. So a lot of guys would run their full load and not change tires just to try to save time, that 30 seconds whatever in the pits, and taking that curb again. But when you're like, to your point, even carrying 30 minutes 40 minutes worth of fuel changes how the car reacts. And if you're filling the tank to 100 and some liters, it really starts to change how some of the cars behave. And
Oh yeah.
you can even see it if you go to the setup screen that does the where you raise or lower the front of the car. You can see you can you can show like different fuel loads, and it'll show you how it affects the stance of the car based on the weight.
Yeah, exactly. It shows you the aero balance.
Mm-hmm.
I think it even shows you the relative change of your suspension travel as well. Because more fuel means heavier car, which
Mm-hmm.
means that depending on where your fuel tank is, if it's in the rear, the rear is going to be squatted down a little bit, make it a little harder to turn in. Which is why the Porsche, on a full fuel load, I mean, front grip for days.
And it would be great to see if Francisco can start to close that gap on Miller.
Yeah, I mean,
We're at 49
it
minutes, so just about a little
it
over
it
10.
does look like he is gaining a little bit of ground. Um, this is always an awkward part of the track, though. Like I think it's T6 into T7. It's
Mm-hmm.
just a super wide right-hander, and it just feels like you have to wait forever to get back on the throttle. Really gives you time to think about your life.
If you didn't
Sort
have
of,
enough time already down the straight.
yeah, just think about where exactly you went wrong.
And Francisco just set his best lap. That
Yeah,
was his best lap of the race. So talking about as fuel loads drop, people's car performance changing, that might have helped contribute to Francisco, and he has dropped it down to 1.3. So as we were saying, it'd be great to see him reel it in. Um, he just pulled almost a second on him, and then looks like maybe dropped back a half just now.
yeah. There's a ton of time to be made up through that, through T1 through 4. If you can get through that section um, in a relatively clean manner, just conserve as much speed as you possibly can. By the time you hit the Mistral Straight, it is surprising how much more speed you can carry down here. I mean, even a couple kilometers per hour goes a long way. I mean, quite literally, you know, to helping you catch people.
Yeah, Nick's pulling in ever so slightly on Francisco as well. So these guys have been close all race, and it continues to go down right here, the final 10 minutes.
Yeah, and it's sad to see that after that incident, lap one, where Cerna just kind of his car decided it wanted to go for a walk. It seems like he's had a difficult time sort of getting things sorted out, and that's always rough, you know.
It is. We keep saying we know, Cerna's pace, and he's going to have a race that finally just nothing bad happens to him, and we're 4 races in, and we're still waiting for that. I do feel bad for the guy. The
Yeah, and
good news is
I
he's
mean,
got the talent, so it's all gonna be okay. It's
he
just,
does.
you know.
Without giving too much away, he did tell me that he was not feeling all that well before this race, so
Mm,
I'm sure that's probably a contributing factor to a. I mean, it's tough. It's tough to do this when you're feeling just peachy, and I can speak from experience. When you're a little under the weather, it's more work than fun.
well, it takes all of your focus and attention, and if you're not feeling well, and you just, your mind's not there, your body's not there, it's hard.
And speaking of focus and attention,
Yeah. Look at this. Look at
yeah,
this. Oh, oh.
Evan is probably holding his hand up over that rear view so he doesn't have to deal with those headlights.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of a tradition around here to you have at least one race per season be a night race. It's really good to see. You don't really get a lot of that kind of stuff. I personally would like to see a lot more.
Different times a day.
Not just times a day, but weather conditions and stuff. But night races are always so much fun. But my God, those headlights in your rear view are.
Yeah.
It's almost like that scene from Jurassic Park. Must go faster. Must go faster.
Yeah,
You know the monster's catching up.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's so true with that. The night racing also more difficult because if you don't practice the track all week in the dark, you might be relying on certain markers you're not able to see at night. So it does change the dynamic a little bit there as well. I mean, you said the cooler track temps kind of come with night also. So
Yeah, and it comes to a shock to some people who don't race at night a lot, but air temperature absolutely contributes to how much power your car outputs. So you could very easily be going faster than you would during the day in a lot of these corners.
Mhm.
If you're relying on your regular braking meters, I mean, it's pretty easy to blow through a corner if you're not paying attention. And people also forget that wind simulation is also.
Oh, look at this!
Yeah.
I'll say I was riding on board here with Francisco. He is looking pretty comfortable on this track at this point. His lines are looking pretty good. He's still a little bit leery into turn 1 here, and I think a lot of that is he doesn't want to make an error that ends up in the back of Miller. So that's the right way to.
Well, and it's a really smart idea not to just shove your nose into a corner like that. I mean, that's already a pretty dangerous corner. Unless you really know what you're doing.
And it's not
really trust the guy you're with.
Right. Yeah, it's not a great passing opportunity diving into that first one. If anything, it's just trying to set yourself up for the second one to then make the pass.
Yeah, and Francisco's probably beating himself
Ooh.
up right about now. Oh, and I see a
Darty.
drive through.
Yeah. Yeah.
Once again, if
Yeah.
Mike wasn't having bad luck, he wouldn't be having any luck at all.
When it rains, it pours. Too, we were going down the order before. We have Taylor in 5th place. Is this Taylor's official position now? Should he just have 5, like change his number to 5?
Yeah, change his number to 5.
I think this is like the 3rd race. I know the one there was some penalties that adjusted it, but just technically the 3rd race he's been in 5th place. That's awesome.
Yeah, and Scott's he's a fairly humble individual, so his mantra has been, "I just got lucky, but
luck only happens like sporadically, right? That doesn't just keep happening, right? Or you're the luckiest person at luck.
You got to be good to be lucky. So.
Yes. This is true. Especially when it keeps repeating like that.
Yeah, exactly. So, just as a message to Scott, we're not going to stop saying that you're good. So
yeah.
You're getting better, bud. Yeah, but no, Escobar's got to be. He's got to be beating himself up a little bit because he keeps making up that time to Miller. He keeps reeling him in to the point where he could just reach out and touch that bumper.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a good thing he hasn't. But
yes.
And
impressive being newer and not doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
Because so many, if you watch a lot of rookie leagues and stuff, so many, the second they pull somebody in, they lose that ability to have that self-control where you've got to let off the gas, and let off the gas before they go to brake. You've got to understand that your braking distance is going to be somewhat increased because you don't have as much air force with or the dirty wind, dirty air, whatever. Just a lot of things change, and a lot of people aren't ready for that, and they'll rear end people all the time because they're just not used to driving close to someone. So
exactly. And a big mistake people make is they think that the later they brake, the faster they are. When in all actuality, it's not quite that simple. And yeah, Escobar running wide again through there.
One thing that someone told me a long time ago when I was early on in sim racing that helped me hugely when following was the fact that as you're entering, because you don't ever know, even if you follow a guy several laps, you don't ever know with absolute certainty exactly the moment where he's going to brake. But you have an idea of the area he should be braking. And if you're real close behind him, just letting off the gas, you're not going to lose that much distance from him. But the second you go to hit the brakes, your car's not having to transfer that like force from full gas to then full brake, and it'll let you get the car stopped a smidge faster, and it'll usually help you from rear-ending the guy if you both brake at the same time.
Yeah, and another tip, if you're following somebody and you're not quite sure what they're going to do, just leave a little bit of an offset, either to the left or the right. That way, if something does happen, you've got an escape plan. You're not directly behind them. You're not going to slam into them. You got a way out. But no, that's really good advice. You know roughly where you brake. Chances are they're going to brake, roughly the same area. Just give them a little distance. Get off the gas a little bit early.
Yeah, and it's amazing. You really don't, because you're about to enter a braking zone. You're not going to lose that much distance on the car. It's pretty negligible. And a lot of times when you go to get on the brakes, you're a little bit more controlled that way too. So that sometimes you'll even notice you still gain even more on them. Mm-hmm. Especially if they're really pushing because they're scared with you behind them.
Yeah, I don't really know if the terminology unforced error really sort of, forced and unforced errors kind of translates to sim racing, but it's very much the same concept. It's trying to get the guy to make a mistake. And a lot of times, just being behind is just enough.
Yeah, closing in on him again.
Mm-hmm. And if you look real close down some of these straights, you can actually see Evan rocking back and forth,
Get that car around.
Yeah.
Get that car going. Yeah, it looks like Driveman dropped off. I didn't see if something had happened to him, but we got the race finished. This is the final lap. I see the fireworks in the distance. So David Macedo, Alex Mota, Pedro Perez are top three, followed by David Hicks, Scott Taylor, Evan Miller, and here we are. Well, about to be. We'll see if Evan Miller is able to keep it.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what's going to happen here. This is the height of stress.
Yeah.
Last lap.
Oh!
The battle. Oh, going wide. Oh, almost set himself up on the inside here. Oh, yeah, thinks better about the dive.
Good restraint on that last lap too, but he
right
wants to get
bumper.
around it so bad.
Only 2 turns left here.
Yeah, and this last one, unless he really lunges to try to block the inside, there's not much. Yeah, Evan takes a pretty defensive line through it as well.
Yeah.
So great job to these two. I don't think there's any. I doubt Francisco has any frustration or about. I'm sure finishing 7th is awesome. So and to be that close to the guy in front of you to. I'm sure he's definitely pleased with himself. So Nick is, and everyone else, yes. So then that is our race, everybody. So Jay, we'll go to drivers of the day. Do you have your pick for tonight after watching that?
I almost want to just give it to Doherty, just so something good can come out of this for him. I don't know, man.
Can you give it to the guy in last? Not that.
Hey man, I can give it to whoever I want. I don't know. I mean, 3rd place for Pedro. That's I highly doubt he's ever going to let any of us forget about that. He does have a tendency to remind us quite often when he finishes that high up. I don't know, man. I'd probably have to say Escobar.
That's a great pick. Yeah.
It's not really about where you place. It's really about sort of how hard you had to fight to get there, and he definitely put in some work to catch up Miller, and I mean, unfortunately, he couldn't get past him by the end. But I mean, that was, for a newer guy, that's really impressive.
Yeah, and the battles he was having back and forth with Driveman, the fact that he showed good car control through all of that. Like you said, driver of the day does not mean that you're the guy that won the race. That's what first place is for, so on. So yeah, I think that's a great pick for driver of the day. It's really just highlighting someone who really showed off, something during the race, which I believe he did. So I think that's a great pick, Jay. Then with your pick, so I will go, and it's hard because I don't want to give, I know this person just hates getting compliments, and he just is extremely bashful and reserved. But I'm going to go ahead and have to give it to P3 Pedro for his 3rd place finish, because that was great. Switching cars, I think he saw early on it was going to be a long season, and I don't think he would have ever imagined third place was in the cards from when he first started driving the Lambo. And like I said, he's just such a respectful, gracious winner. I have some posts here from him after the race where he says P3 losers with the middle finger, and then there is just like stealing candy from a child. So those were Pedro's after race comments showing his grace and
Well,
I
uh,
love it. Don't ever change, Pedro. Don't ever change.
the
But
best
that's
part of that exchange was my reply to him, which was, "It makes sense that you would know what that's like, you monster." So,
well, that was a lot of fun and a lot of unexpected results there with some of the where the guys finished and some of everything that took place. Sorry for what happened to some of the drivers there between Darty and Demler or Demler.
Darren.
Derringer, thank you, and Hasbrock, especially for Hasbrock because this was his return where I really expected him. I mean, his quality time was just as fast as David Macedo Amoto was. Hasbrock was even a second or so faster. So, um, yeah, unfortunate, but we'll see what happens next week. Um, Anything else you wanted to say, Jay, before we sign off?
No, I think that about covers it from my end.
All right. Well, as always, anyone interested in racing with us, it's 9:30 Eastern Time, Saturday nights that are our championship race. We're about halfway through the season now, but you're still welcome to join, finish out the season with us, and get ready for the start of the next one afterwards. So, anyone interested, Discord's in the video description. Thanks, everyone, and we'll see you next week.